Prime Minister Ingram addresses U.S. Homeland Security Secretary and national security ministers from around the region. We take you inside the CBSI conference. Last week, you heard him deny that 10,000 people were granted citizenship. Well, tonight, DPM Symonette is back with the numbers to prove it. And COB students learn their status weeks ahead of World AIDS Day. Our cameras are there. It's Thursday, November 10th. We have these stories and much more coming up on the Bahamas Tonight, starting right now.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight.
It's great to have you along this Thursday. This is the Bahamas Tonight National Report. I'm Shanique Miller. Leaders from the Bahamas, the Caribbean and the United States mapping out new strategies in the fight against crime. And it comes at an opportune time as the homicide rate in the Bahamas is at an all-time high. But not just here. Jamaica, as well as other Caribbean countries, have an even bigger problem. Leaders realize that a collaborative effort between security forces is needed as the fight on the war on crime continues. Today, they met at the Atlantis Resort for the annual Caribbean Basin Security Conference. Altavi's Munnings was there.
The recent study produced by the UNODC in respect of homicide rates throughout the world places this region at the apex. We have countries in the region where homicide rates exceed 50%.
Sustaining regional security isn't an easy task. It requires private partnerships like the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative to find resolutions. But CARICOM's head of national security and law enforcement, Dr. Errol Court, who's also Antigua and Barbuda's Minister of National Security, believes more can be done to stop at-risk youth who tend to commit these crimes.
We see angry youth. We see youth violence at its highest. We see the youth getting involved in violent crime, gun-related crime.
The theme for the conference was fostering greater regional coordination and ensuring long-term sustainment. Prime Minister Hubert Ingram, in his keynote address, praised the strong bilateral relationship between the Bahamas and the United States.
At the core of all our endeavors must be our commitment to the mutually supportive cooperative partnership we have established that will foster greater regional coordination and ensure long-term sustainment of Caribbean United States efforts. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the test of effectiveness of our CBSI efforts will be the cumulative effect of what each of our countries achieve nationally and what we accomplish as the mutually beneficial partnership which the Caribbean and the US have headed. I give my assurance the Bahamas is a willing and committed partner in CBSI.
Prime Minister Ingram also illustrated the strength of U.S.-Bahamas ties in the U.S. Coast Guard's assistance in rescuing 18 passengers of the MV Legacy in Abaco on Wednesday. U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Janet Napolitano said the United States is proud of its relationship with all regional states. Last year, some $139 million was spent on the CBSI program and $77 million was donated for the fight of crime in the region. However, to maintain national security, she offered several recommendations to bolster maritime and land security.
While I recognize the difficulty of raising additional funds for security programs, allow me to share one idea you may wish to further explore, which is the use of legislative authorities that allow for the seizure of assets used in illicit activity to help sustain law enforcement programs. The Department of Homeland Security makes use of similar laws in the United States to obtain funds and equipment for our law enforcement agencies and partners. The Coast Guard also works with many countries across the region to assess anti-terrorism measures. Through CBSI funding, the Coast Guard and the United States government have committed to provide boats and related training to a number of Caribbean countries, totaling $109 million.
Once the high-level dialogue of the Caribbean Basin Security Initiative ends today, regional security officials should have a better opportunity to execute brand new security strategies in their respective countries. Altavi's Munnings, ZNS News.
Napolitano, who heads the third largest agency in the U.S. federal government, explained the impact of program Global Shield, which some 60 countries now participate in.
We work with countries to inspect cargo and to identify possible precursor chemicals that can be used in the manufacture of IEDs. So I think that with respect to Barbados, one of the primary impacts can be expected, or primary efforts, not impacts, but primary efforts will be in the area of cargo shipment, and in scanning of cargo.
The 3 pillars of the CBSI's plan of action include promoting social justice. Acting Assistant Secretary in the U.S. State Department for the Western Hemisphere, Roberto Jacobson, outlined how they're receiving regional cooperation for post-Hurricane Haiti.
Certainly what we've seen post-earthquake in Haiti is that you have an effort that's being made, frankly, both on the security and on the economic side. It wasn't and isn't just building back and building back stronger in Haiti. It is an important governance question that begins with security.
Now, shortly after Secretary Napolitano arrived in the country last evening, she was hosted to a reception at the Atlantis Resort, where she had an opportunity to speak with National Security Minister Tommy Turnquest, Agriculture Minister Larry Cartwright, and Minister of Housing Kenneth Russell. Prime Minister Ingram will officially open the second Caribbean Basin Security Initiative this evening. The opening ceremony and address will be carried live immediately following this newscast. After being accused of granting citizenships for votes last week, Deputy Prime Minister Brent Symonette is speaking out, admitting that the department has not kept proper tabs on citizenship numbers. Immigration Minister Symonette sought to clear the air on the controversial issue of citizenship. Ianthea Smith has a breakdown of the numbers.
Well, you asked for it, and today it came out. This afternoon, Immigration Minister Brent Symonette released those most wanted citizenship figures.
We did a total number of applications considered was 896, not 10,000, 896. The number of the persons granted citizenship was 783. Total number of persons refused was 4. Persons refused citizenship but granted permanent residency with the right to work. That's another ability we have. If you feel you don't qualify for citizenship, we have the right to give you permanent residency with the right to work. It was 71, and we have a number of people we told to maintain their status. It was 33, and 5 persons were deferred for reasons of further investigation.
Breaking down the categories, Symonette says 47 Commonwealth citizens were granted citizenship, with the highest number, 19, being Jamaicans. There were 278 citizenship grants to children born to non-Bahamian parents but lived here all their lives, 247 Haitian nationals, and 25 Jamaicans.
We have the issue of spouses. Interesting enough, and it may come as no surprise to many of you, the spouses that are made citizens being married to Bahamians, the largest section there is Jamaicans, some 14 out of a total of 41. 8 Americans, and the list goes on. Then you have under Section 6, which is a person, minor children, obviously born here, to minor children of Bahamian citizens born legitimately overseas. That's a section that didn't get covered by the referendum. 41 are Americans, 60 are Haitians, out of a total of 123.
There were 167 citizenship grants to Haitian nationals if they were born in the Bahamas to non-Bahamian parents but missed their deadline at the age of 18 to apply. Another category, permanent residency for spouses married to Bahamians. 332, he says, were granted permanent residency in 2010, while 338 so far this year.
From May the 2nd, 2007 to December 31st, 2009, 998 persons were granted citizenship.
Now, for many people, these numbers may seem really high, but Minister Symonette says there's one thing we all have to remember, that under the Constitution of the Bahamas, many of these people have rights. Ianthea Smith, ZNS News.
Police have filed charges against 2 Canadians for allegedly defrauding Scotiabank of some $76,000. Court papers show that between Sunday, October 30th, and Monday, November 7th, 38-year-old Ontario resident Michael Roney and 42-year-old Mihai Stoichesi obtained the money from Scotiabank here in the capital by means of fraudulent pretenses. The men reportedly used debit and credit cards to obtain the cash. It's also alleged that they were caught with 66 gift cards. In court, they pleaded not guilty to